Hi, everyone. Your fellow female activist and wellness coach, Cathy here. And if you're new, hi, hello. And if you are a regular, you know what we're going to do. So today we are in our wellness playlist, but we are going to be talking about nourishment, in particular, internal inflammation. Okay. And with that, you know that we start our wellness and our recommendation playlist with positive quotient repetitions. Positive quotient repetitions. So if you're new here, it is all good, and we're happy to have you. So what you're going to do, if you feel safe, um, you can be laying down, standing, sitting, doesn't matter. Can be walking. We're actually going to have our eyes open. So I'm going to take off my glasses for this one. So we're going to actually have our eyes open. And again, only if you feel safe, go ahead and pay attention. Otherwise, keep driving. All right. So, what I do want you to do, though, no matter where you're at, is I want you to think about growing your tallest spine, like really nice and long spine, and then roll the shoulders back. That's going to help open up your chest. Now, what I want us to do is with our eyes open, and again, only if you're able, I want you to focus on something in front of you. And while you focus, I want you to check out the exquisite detail of whatever you're looking at. What colors are you seeing for the first time? What is the lighting showing about the item that you're looking at? What textures are showing up more clear now? And now you can keep your eyes open and kind of gaze at that object. But now what I want you to do is take some of your fingertips and rub them or with the fingertips and go ahead and now rub them against something. What are you feeling now with your fingertips? Is it cool? Is it warm? Is whatever your fingertips on soothing? Is the texture rough? Let the sensation fill your fingertips. And let's go ahead and come back. And hopefully, whatever might have been worrying you before we started our PQ reps, now you're feeling a little bit more centered. Okay. That, my friends, is what we call PQ reps. And you can send me a DM of any type, and I can share with you the magic of PQ reps. Alrighty, so today we are talking about nourishment. Okay, so that's one of the 5 pillars for wellness, and specifically internal inflammation. Okay, II, as I call it, is normal. Okay, so internal inflammation is not what we would call bad. It's just part of how our bodies take care of business, right? But too much is not normal. So too much II or internal inflammation is not normal. So first off, let's be very real. In our very unfortunately capitalized um, and westernized uh, medical system, not just here in the States, but everywhere else, unfortunately, in most cases, it's about, unfortunately, maintaining, okay, a status quo instead of trying to upgrade what could happen, right? So there is what we call the sick system. So instead of having actual, you know, upgrades of someone's certain situation, okay, all the, and I'm not trying to down on Western medicine because again, you know, if I were to get a bone broken, I would be going to the ER quickly to have it reset and then, hopefully cast if necessary. Or if there needs to be a surgery, fine, I'll have it done. I'll have it taken care of. But what I'm getting at is the whole pharmaceutical version of health, which is not health. It's just helping you feel okay when you're not at optimal levels. And in my world, okay, I'm fortunate enough to myself be a client of functional medicine. And so there's a difference between just being at some type of base, what they call normal, even though there's so many versions within that, normal, and what it means to be suboptimal versus very much in the optimal level. Um, Blood work, okay, definitely can tell a stationary story, but it's not the whole story. And that's why, again, that I choose to go to functional practitioners versus just regular MDs, because there's a lot to be said, again, about how the body can help itself. But if you only rely on, let's say, prescriptions, you're not giving yourself a lot of different options. So, nourishment, internal inflammation. Internal inflammation, if you're not familiar with the phrase, it is a medical term. And interinflammation is basically how our body heals itself, okay? We, scratch ourselves and then we see redness happen. That's internal inflammation. Before you didn't have anything going on, then you scratched yourself in some way, shape, or form, and now you have redness. Maybe you even broke the skin and you might have a little blood. All that redness and all the repair, that's internal inflammation. And that's normal. That's how our bodies repair itself. The example I gave, if I were to break a bone, right? That's not fun. And you need intra-inflammation to heal. So, while I might get a cast, right? Immediately after I break a bone, one, it's going to hurt like you know what, okay, because a lot of inflammation just took place. And then two, now the bone, right, um, has to reset, hopefully get reset. And in that process, the intra-inflammation, that's why you end up swelling up. That's supposed to happen. So intra-inflammation in itself is not quote unquote bad. What happens, okay, in a majority of those of us, right, in what we would presume, right, is um, a majority, hopefully, of people who have enough. Now, I'm being apparently privileged because apparently living in what I'm not proud of, but living in the US apparently put me automatically in the 1 percentile of the population that's the wealthiest, interesting enough. I don't know how much truth there is now in this moment, given what's going on, but what I'm saying is just because of where I am born, I have a privilege of having a little bit more, okay, when it comes to capitalistic viewpoints, right? Um, so I have access to healthcare. It's not optimal though. So your nourishment, okay, plays a lot into your intra-inflammation. So intra-inflammation again is normal and it's not bad. And because of the standard, Western diet, unfortunately, sometimes you might have too much internal inflammation, and that's what we're getting at here. Too much internal inflammation is not normal. It's not optimal, okay? And that's what can change over time, right? Obviously, in younger years, your body, I would actually say that that's not true. Let's say when you're younger, your body can overcompensate because of the youthfulness. I would not say that at all. There are kids, people that I love, that have had horrible allergies all their life. And I know most of it is due to extra internal inflammation. Okay, it's due to external and possibly internal, but mostly external forces on their bodies. Okay, so when I say that internal inflammation is normal, that is truth. When I say too much internal inflammation is not normal, that is also true because we are inducing that extra unnecessary internal inflammation because of our lifestyles, basically. So, just some quick tips about how you can reduce your internal inflammation. Because again, we don't we we don't want our internal inflammation to go away. Hello, that would be our immune system not working. That's not good. But here's a good example. Autoimmune disease, something like arthritis. That's a perfect example of too much internal inflammation. Okay. And with that, most people would just think that all they can do is take medication to subdue the pain. No, actually, there are a lot of different lifestyle changes that can be made, options open to you, some of them free, that will reduce that internal inflammation and thus will reduce the amount of arthritis you will experience. So nothing in your life is permanent unless, quite literally, you know, medical speaking, there's nothing, absolutely nothing that can be done to change the situation. But in most cases, our extra internal inflammation is all externally produced, meaning it's not coming from our actual bodies, it's from the outside coming in. And so, what I would recommend is that you think about, you know, the hydration part. When you hydrate, let it be water and let it be, even if you can't afford like an expensive filter, guess what? Just putting lemon and salt in your water will optimize it because it'll add electrolytes to it. And that's pretty fairly cheap than buying like something that you might find at a store. Now, the usefulness of those takeaway little, I use them actually. I think they were Looms. I forget the brand, but I took little electrolyte tablets with me because I went on a international trip, and I was so glad that I did because the extra energy saved my butt, right? I didn't take caffeine. None of those electrolyte tablets had that, but I put in the minerals necessary to overcome the excess heat and humidity I was going to experience. So what I'm getting at is that there are differences between what you should be putting in your body and what people choose to put in their body. So simple changes, again, hydration, drink more water, but try to add natural electrolytes into it, right? Something as simple as when you want to get better sleep, guess what? Eat more protein. You might be surprised at not only how much better you'll sleep, and with protein, hopefully you're choosing less heavy duty proteins, like trying to eat less animal protein and go more towards plant-based because that's less fuel that it takes to digest, which can also lower internal inflammation. But what I'm getting at is your nourishment matters, right? So internal inflammation, all right, comes about because of the external stuff that we put in our bodies, most certainly because of our foods. And so what I was talking about, the standard, Western diet, definitely drink more water. Okay. Think about less animal proteins and more about variety of colors in your diet that include plenty of proteins. Okay, because that's going to again help reduce your internal inflammation, and it's going to bring in more minerals, okay, overall, because plant-based foods have more minerals overall, right? And that's going to help all your joints. That's going to help your internal organs work better. All of that then in turn reduces internal inflammation naturally. So you don't have to go and buy tons of pills to perform what your body can do on its own, and a lot cheaper. So keep that in mind, okay? So again, nourishment has a lot to do with our internal inflammation. And the less internal inflammation that we're experiencing, the better we're going to feel overall. And that certainly has a lot to do with all the external factors that come into and around our body, right? So keep that in mind the next time you are ready to possibly, uh, you know, I mean, those energy drinks can be upwards of like almost $6 now. No, that $6 can buy a whole lot of produce that then can either go in your water, right, as electrolytes, and or to flavor your nourishing meals in some way, shape, or form, so that you're not buying items that then that you consume and then bring on more internal inflammation. So again, internal inflammation, not a bad thing. It's normal. It's how your immunity works. And you don't want to have so much of it that now your body is saying, ah, I have too much internal inflammation. Yeah. If you're feeling puffy, if you're feeling like just groggy, look into your medicine cabinet, which is your refrigerator, which is your pantry. Look in there and see how much boxed items, how many pre-processed items you have. And guess what? If you stop buying those little by little, okay, I'm not trying to, scare you, but little by little, make the swaps, okay? And you will start noticing you are less puffy, you are less, feeling downgraded. It is possible to feel better, even in perimenopause and menopause. I assure you, the the more you pay attention to how much internal inflammation you have, the more you want to take the decisions or make the decisions that can then help you create less internal inflammation overall. And you're going to love yourself for it. So I will leave you with that. And don't forget that at the end of every month, I have a 12 p.m. PT live yoga session. So we'd love to see you there. Until next time, take care, take charge.